Yes sir, it's time for another still frame review. Last week I reviewed Moana based on the suggestion of my friend Nathaniel, or Nate as he's known online, and in that very same suggestion he asked me to give my thoughts on the second film in the Lin-Manuel Miranda Disney movie duology, Mary Poppins Returns. The long-delayed 2018 sequel to 1964's Mary Poppins picks up a few decades after the original film. During the Great Depression, a widowed Michael Banks and his 3 children are about to lose their house to the bank. The magical nanny Mary Poppins comes down from the sky, and along with a Cockney lamplighter Jack, take the kids on fantastical adventures while Michael and his sister Jane try to save the house. From the overture, yes, there is an overture, I noticed there are some things in this movie I really appreciated. Mark Shaman and his co-lyricist Scott Whitman do a really good job of creating the music. And no, it was not Lin-Manuel Miranda. I really appreciate how they were able to replicate the older style of musical music, including that overture. Unfortunately for me, personally, I've never really liked the style of Mary Poppins music in particular, but for the most part, these songs are still decent. And even though Lin-Manuel Miranda did no composing for this movie, only acting, he still did an okay job. He was probably the weakest actor and singer in his own play Hamilton. Not a bad actor, but weak. However, for this movie and this particular role of Jack the Sidekick Lamplighter, he doesn't really have to be a great actor full of all depth and range. He just has to be charming, much like Dick Van Dyke in the original movie. And I think he does have a lot of charm in this role, and this is the kind of role he excels in. His British accent isn't very good, but then again, neither was Dick Van Dyke's, so it kind of all works out. There are some fun visuals and great production design with sets and costumes, very imaginative. I thought they might have at least tried to match something close to the original's look in terms of the camera, but this cinematography is still fine. I do like the look of modern film stock, and it's still bright and colorful and fun to look at. Though I did find it odd what they chose to update. They had modern cinematography in this movie, but they had old style music. They had 12 frame per second hand-drawn animation, but also CGI, all crammed together in the same scene. Sometimes it came out really good and they blended so well I didn't notice, but other times it's kind of distracting. Continuing on with the negatives, while I've never been a huge Julie Andrews fan, blasphemy I know, I can at least appreciate how in the original Mary Poppins movie, she was able to play both harsh and kind at the exact same time. Emily Blunt in this same role just doesn't seem to hit quite that mark. She just seems harsh at first, and then in other scenes she seems nice, but she can't play both of them at the same time. A problem I had with this movie, I also had with the original Mary Poppins. In both movies, the magic sequences, while fun, seem a bit arbitrary. There's no real reason for them to happen, at least for the specific events in those sequences to happen. Say, for example, if you took the undersea adventure inside of a bathtub and replaced it with a volcano world in the oven, it would not affect the story in any way, as there's no real driving reason for those adventures to happen. It's just seemingly random, imaginative things that the creators came up with. It's almost as if changing all the details in the sequences was actually exactly how this movie was made, because it's almost the exact same plot as the original movie. What's the point of even making a sequel if it's just the same movie? You may as well sell more DVD copies of the original. So as with most Disney films this past decade, it's a mixed bag. There's no heinous crimes or incredible accolades. And so as with most Disney films this past decade, I'd give it a C. For califragilisticexpialidocious, but not of the super variety. Mary Poppins Returns is not an exceptional movie, but I will say this for it. The music, the dances, the animation, when I saw it all in theater and this second time around watching it at home, it really made me think of all the kinds of movies you just don't see anymore. And maybe this movie will prove to be a transition to the new films of the 20s. I'm hoping that this coming decade will see a break from all the old homogenized films of the 2010s that all feel the same, and film will see a dramatic shift in content. I don't know what, maybe exchanging bathos humor for wit? Or perhaps exchanging realism for expressionism? I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe the big studio movies of the 2020s will look just like the studio movies of the 2010s. I can't say for sure, but that's just what this movie got me to thinking of. It's not great in itself, but it gave me a little inspiration and imagination to wonder what might come next. Those are my thoughts on Mary Poppins Returns. What are your thoughts? Let me know below, and let me know if you have any suggestions for other movies or television shows you'd like me to review. That's it for now. See you later.